Shifting gears now, living in a COVID world has probably affected nearly every single person in one way or another. And if you found yourself with some extra time on your hands, have you put that time to good use? Well, our next guest has written 12 books since 2012, and during the pandemic, 5 books.
During the pandemic.
During the pandemic alone.
I feel like an underachieved person right now, but listen, we are in for a treat today. Meet award-winning creative writer, filmmaker, author, and mama of 4 teenagers. Oh, Lord. Oh, my gosh. You are not busy at all. Nkem Denchukwu, thanks so much for joining us. It's great to meet you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So, mother of 4 teenagers, you wrote 5 books over the last couple months. I mean, you know, you're not busy. I don't know. Just hanging out, right? Out there in Sugarland. Where do you find your inspiration?
Well, it depends. It could be from sunrise. It could be from butterflies. It could be from people, maybe a story or just a conversation with a friend. It could just be anything. So you have to be open to, embrace the inspiration when they come. Because sometimes when they come, you're not expecting the inspiration to come,
And I understand that you really have dedicated your life using your voice to inspire other people, to help educate other people, especially the younger generation. Where did this fire in you come from?
Well, like you already said, I have 4 kids, and my kids are I call them my Fantastic Four. Oh. So I usually have communications with them, not just talking to them. I talk with them, and of course I listen to a lot of stories, and I have like young adults that I mentor. I have conversations with them, and of course, teens and tweens and children. So basically, I mean, it's just like writing on bullying book. We all know that a lot of times you see how, you listen or hear the story about a 7-year-old who committed suicide. So when I read on stories like that, or just anything, basically can just inspire me to start writing. So with this pandemic, I just figure rather than just sitting at home and just, watching Criminal Minds or what is it called? Little Fires Everywhere, just being on Netflix all the time, just to put my skill into better use. So that way I can also empower and educate more people, especially the younger generation.
And I think that's so important, and you use the word empower, and you've done so well at that. Of course, you have written those 5 children's books since COVID-19 began. You were also featured in Forbes magazine, the digital edition, for producing Harvey, a film inspired by Hurricane Harvey. Also some comments published in O magazine. And your latest book, Put Me in Your Shoes. Talk to us about the message for this particular book.
Put Me in Your Shoes is actually, it was inspired by, the ongoing Black Lives Matter, basically just racism generally. It's a collection of short stories that shed light on racism, xenophobia, colorism, but it also, one of the main things that the book talks about is that it shows kids the importance of kindness and love and oneness and unity. That you have a different skin color doesn't mean that you're better than another person. Our skin color just basically, just shows that we're unique in our individual ways. So kids, for me, I write books I've written books for adults before, but for kids, I figured kids are the future. If I can mold the mindset of more than one child at a time, then that's the goal, that I believe that I would have achieved something great. So Put Me in Your Shoes. As much as that I wrote the books for the younger generation, I promise that as an adult, when you read the book, you will definitely have so much to think about, and you'll be empowered, inspired, informed, educated, and maybe hopefully a lot of minds will be more nurtured. So.
And Nkem, I'm so glad to get to know you and to be having this chat with you today. Courtney and I so often are just sort of shocked at things that we continue to see online and read. And I think for so many people who just without thinking fire off a message or post something online without realizing the implications, we here at Houston Life, we've tried to get to the heart of this idea that just because something has not been a problem for you doesn't mean it's not a problem. Right. Or just because you don't know about something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And racism, as we've seen over the past few months, it is alive in parts of the world where we thought it was not a problem anymore. And I think something about your new book, Put Me in Your Shoes, one thing that you're really trying to underscore here is that children learn from what they see and from what they hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I always say go back to that child's environment, because childhood orientation is everything.
Yes.
You know, you can't be raising a child, or rather you can as an adult or as a parent. You're having a conversation on the phone or with your spouse or your partner, and the child is maybe in the next room, maybe playing a video game, and you think they're focused on that. Meanwhile, they're listening to your conversation, and you're probably talking down on another race or saying some horrible things about another person just because of the color of the skin. So what do you expect that child to be, you know? So this is actually the first time that I wrote on racism. One of the books that I wrote, I think 2 years ago, about a boy, a friend of mine said, oh, you shouldn't have written about suicide. You know, kids shouldn't be reading books about suicide and stuff. I said, no, these are conversations that we need to have with these kids. If you don't discuss this with them, they go out there and someone else will give them the false information.
Right.
So childhood orientation is very, very necessary. I mean, nobody wakes up and become a bully or a racist. Nobody is born a bully. Nobody is born a racist. Nobody is born to be mean. All these are choices. So for kids are like Play-Doh, you know? So you mold their minds at this tender age. And of course, a lot of times they become what you molded them into. But in some, you know, some situations, some kids they just have a different mindset, and they will say, oh, my mom or my dad was like this, or I was raised like that, therefore I'm not going to be that way. It's rare to see, you know, so many kids like that. So we have to do our best to just, you know, just teach them and make them to be better than we are. I always say, I hope my kids, you know, turn out to be better than I am. And I always tell them, if you ever see me doing something that is not right, please, even though you're the child, please do not learn from my bad behavior. So everything boils down to childhood orientation and a child's environment. So a lot of times parents are to be blamed, you know. So we have to discuss racism, no matter how hard it may sound or appear to be, we have to. I mean, 7-year-olds commit suicide. A 7-year-old who hasn't lived, they commit suicide. How do you describe that?
It's heartbreaking,
so we have to discuss them.
And I do think that even though you did say that your books are for children, any age can learn from the messages that you have in the variety of your books. And you are so right that so many of these behaviors are a learned behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, listen, we need to continue this conversation, Nkem, because clearly it is not going anywhere. But as you mentioned, it's a conversation we all need to be having. And I think what you've said to your kids is really cool, that if they ever see you doing or saying something, that they should be able to speak up as well. Raising kids who are better than you are, that's a pretty empowering statement.
Sure is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Nkem Denchukwu, thank you so much for all of your help today and your time and your patience. We'll see you in studio very soon.
Thank you so much for having me, and have a beautiful day.
You too.
All right.
And if you would like to keep up with Nkem, you can visit our website, HoustonLife.tv.